Hello and welcome to Art on the Farm with Mia Sage and Jan, brought to you by the Monroe Area Council for the Arts. Today, we are going to be making watercolor pencil lizards. Now, watercolor comes in a variety of forms. It can come in a solid, like cake circle, and that's what you see often in the little kids' packets, where it comes with a brush and it comes with 8 to 10 colors, something like that. And oftentimes, those colors are a little softer, they're a bit more muted. And red will look like pink, that sort of thing, depending on the brand. Now, Sergeant Art is one that I have used in a few of our Council for the Arts videos. That is one that I really like as a really nice start base when it comes to those watercolor cakes. So those are also non-toxic. They're safe to use around pets and kids. So that's something that I would recommend because you get quite a bit of color variety there in that nice little pan. So that's something that I would recommend. Also, watercolor crayons. Looks just like a crayon, but the crayon is what you would call water soluble, so it's not waxy. Whenever you go to add a wet paintbrush on top of your finished product, then it's going to give you the nice color layers of the crayons, the nice different hues that you used in the crayon, and it's going to turn it into a textured watercolor piece. So I'm a big fan of those as well. We've done a couple of videos on those also. One thing that I wanted to make sure that we touched on with our videos was to use watercolor pencil. And so that is what we are going to be looking at and addressing today is watercolor pencil. And really some of the very best of the watercolor pencils that you can get currently, that I have found that my students of all ages and all age ranges can use. So currently on that level would be the Prismacolor watercolor pencils. I also really like Crayola makes a watercolor pencil. I really like the Crayola watercolor pencils. So if you're not wanting to dive right into the Prismacolor watercolor pencils, if you want to get something that you can kind of explore with and play with and use for a little bit, but not worry about cost or not worry about somebody breaking your pencil, then I most definitely believe the Crayola watercolor pencils are going to be an excellent start for you. One thing that I do like about both the Crayola watercolor pencils and the Prismacolor watercolor pencils is they still adhere to the ASTM D4236. That is going to be for toxicity. Woo! It just means there's nothing toxic in these colors. If I go and I forget to throw away my watercolor water that I've been using and somebody goes and they pick up that cup and they drink it, it's not going to cause them to get sick because some really bright hues, some really bright colors in nature show the predator that creature is toxic. So we want to make sure that we always just kind of look right here. It is on this one, the AP certification. So that means that if there were something very dangerous in it, they would have to have a warning on here. They don't. It's safe. I like that very much because I'm often working around kids and animals. And so I want to make sure that I'm always good on that. Now, as we're looking to make our lizard, I'm going to go on and choose to do my lizard in cool colors. Cool colors. So I'm going to be thinking in my head about cool colors. Here's a really nice teal. So I'm going to use this teal to start with my lizard. I'm going to have him angled. And I'm going to be creating the very top of his head. Oh, you can't see that. Well, my goodness. Very top of his head. It's going to be like that. Okay. I'm going to go on and make an adjustment here. Add an extra little challenge to myself. I'm going to draw it upside down and backwards. All right. So we have our head. From here, we're gonna make him some little like shoulders. We're gonna go arch and out. And that's gonna go into his little feet. And give him 3 little toes. And then I'm gonna follow that back in. I'm gonna go to this side, arch and out. That forms the first toe. 1, 2, 3, and back in. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to give him a little belly. Create his abdomen there. Man, he's had several flies, this one. Okay. Just like before, arch and out. 1, 2, 3, and in. Arch and out. 1, 2, 3, back in. We're ready for a tail. Tail out and over. Curl him a little bit, give just a little bit of character to it. And then be careful as you grow your tail back. You don't want to grow your tail too thick, and I think I did. Look at that. Look at Mr. Chunkster right here. Try to do better than me. Try not to grow that tail too thick. Look at all that chunky tail. Oh my goodness. Evidently, he stores all of his extra fat right there in that tail. Okay. So now I'm going to just take some time and I'm going to do some very rough strokes because I want it to have a bit of texture. Some very rough strokes all the way in here. Make sure you get to the tip of your toes. Notice I am not choosing to fully color him in, though if that's something that you want to do, by all means go for it. You can always pause the video to do that as well. I just know that I'm going to be color layering, so I'm not super concerned about it. If you want a nice even surface on the inside, you want a nice even color on the inside, go for it. Be careful around his head, because we haven't made him any eyes. I'm going to go on in here. I'm going to give him 2 big, bulging yellow eyes. 2 big, bulging yellow eyes. And then I'm going to go on through here. Got out of the line a little bit right there. Try not to be as careless as me. Take your time, don't rush. Just make sure that the motion of your strokes all make sense with his position. Don't start this way and then all of a sudden go wah, 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 wah. I'm going to make sure the motion of your strokes makes sense. So now that I've got a really nice solid teal or turquoise base, now I can go and add some more color layers. I'm going to take, this is called blue. Looks very purpley to me, but it's called blue. I'm going to go on in here. I disagree with this blue. It looks purple. I like purple. But I'm just saying, I disagree. I am making tiny little circles. Little bitty circles. Almost like little squiggles. Like I'm just playing around. And I'm adding that texture all the way up. I may regret it halfway through. This is going to take quite a bit of squigglage. It's not a word, but I just made it. And so I'm just working my system, working my way up the system. Trying my best not to get lazy, because as soon as you get lazy, something happens. You make a mistake. You have to work even harder to try to undo your mistake. Because you can't. You have to make it look like your mistake was on purpose, because you can't undo what you did. Oh, I'm making it to the screen. Look at that. Going to town. Got my pattern. I'm working the pattern. If you have some other pattern in mind, go for it. A little here, a little there. Remember that the teal and the purple, they call it blue, but it's purple. And purple are both on the cool side of the color wheel. So these are colors that are going to play really well together. They're going to work really well together, wherever they are. Those eyes, however, are really bold. It's like a corn yellow, an orange yellow, a golden yellow. So when we go to work with that in a minute, we need to keep in mind our warm colors and say to ourselves, well, now what's that going to look the best with? To make it pop. Whew, made it through that tail. That big old chunk of tail. These will sharpen pretty well, particularly with a hand sharpener, if you end up needing to. I will tell you that if you are a person who enjoys the electric pencil sharpener, the lead in these, the pigment, is super soft for most watercolor pencils that I have worked with. All that I have worked with, actually. Because of that, you are going to want to be so careful if you choose to use an electric sharpener, because it will just eat that puppy on down before you ever know what happened. So if you are someone who chooses to use the electric sharpener instead of taking a little hand sharpener, you may. Key is to be super careful. Very, very careful. So it's just so sad when you've had to use a color, you put that in the electric sharpener, or even if you're not careful with the hand sharpener, you can go really fast, really hard. I'm going to stop right here. Those are the designs that I want to make for him. So sad when you've got only one pencil that's super short, and then you get all anxious about it. On this side, do that right there. So this is lime green. That's going to be a nice accent, and I'm going to pull Just a few strokes of that lime green so it looks like it's on purpose all the way up through here. Yeah. So a little extra something something going on there. Pull that into his head. Okay. All right. So, if you want to add any other color layers, this is a great time to do it. If you want to add any other color layers, it's a great time to do it. The only other thing that I think I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit of a red accent in with this golden yellow. And that looks so pretty. I may go on and add some red on his toes. He's my lizard. Of that I am sure. Look at his little red toes. He's got frog toes. Tree frog toes. It's okay, man. You're my lizard and I love you so much. I'm going to put a little bit of red accent right in there. Kind of pull everything together. I'm happy with that. I'm very happy with that. When you are happy with yours, you can get your water and your watercolor. I'm getting a brush. I've dipped it into my water, then I've kind of brushed it against the side of the cup, or I use a tin can, because I don't want a ton of water. Ooh. What this is going to do is all of your rough edges, it's just going to smooth. Be mindful of what your sections are. So I'm starting with his body. I'm leaving the rest of this for right now. I'm not going to get into that just yet. I'm only working on the main base of my little fella's body because those are like colors. That's where I've got my teal and my lime green. So I'm only worried about that first. Also, note and notice, I have some water on here. I'm not going back and adding water and adding water and adding water. You don't want to do that. Because every time that you're going back and adding water multiple times, water's getting washed away. Washed away. All right, so now that I'm pretty happy, just pulls all that color out. See how much bolder he is now? Now I'm going to move into his legs. And note, I'm touching it and moving on. I'm not doing so much that I lose the designs that I've worked so hard to create. Touch and go. That doesn't mean go super fast. It means don't go back and doubt yourself. Touch, move forward. It's okay. We're doing this to explore. We're doing this to learn together. So touch it and then move on. I am leaving his toes just as they are. I'm happy with his little toes. So I'm not hitting into that red at all. Okay. I'm going to go drag across there. See, it can get muddy if I'm not careful. So I want to be very careful. And then I'm going to go down into here. As long as there's still damp parts to your brush, you're okay. I'm finally starting to lose the dampness to my brush. All of that, his whole upper body, before I ever had to go get more water. That whole upper body, before I ever had to go back to get more water. You keep that in mind. You don't need to be dipping into the water all the time. You're just losing color when you do. Just losing color when you do. Nice, nice strokes. Look at that. I'm being very intentional. Nice, nice strokes. Very intentional. Doesn't take nearly as long as it did to do all of this texture, texture, texture right here. Texture, texture, texture right here. All right. Now, I would not dream of taking this and going into the eyes. One, this is a very thick brush that's going to go everywhere. Two, this has been with cool colors, almost all cool colors. Those are warm colors. That would completely muddy up my piece. I want to get a fresh brush, a small detail brush, and just go into that detail. Ooh. Now he has these burny, fiery eyes. Okay. You can see now that when we're working, here we go. When we're working with watercolor pencils, you get this nice mixture between texture and the smooth sensation that you can get with watercolor. You can have texture and that nice smooth sensation that you can get only with watercolor. I think, and I'm a little impatient here, but I think I'm going to take a Sharpie to give him a few little fine details. Don't go crazy with your fine details, but just a little bit. I was too scared to do a nose. So I'm going to go dot, dot, and give the little fella a nose. And then the other thing that I'm going to be adding right here is the center of his eyes. Now, I'm trying to do that now while it is too damp. So it won't absorb that color just yet with my Sharpie pen because it's just too damp. I'm going to try one more time with a regular pen. And then if it's telling me again that it's just not yet time, I should respect that. Ooh. It worked. There he is. Okay. There's my little wizard. I hope you enjoyed exploring textures with watercolor pencils. Here with Art on the Farm with Mia, Sage, and Jan. Brought to you by the Monroe Area Council for the Arts. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.